Hello, class. My name is Jennifer Lopez, and today I will be presenting my presentation that is based on masculinity and its effect on decisions. The story that I decided to pick, one of the first ones, is Reunion by John Chevier. This is a short story that navigates through the relationship between a father and son. The son has hopes to have a nice reunion and catch up with his father. However, is filled with disappointment due to his father's actions and energy. The second story I decided to go with is Hills Like White Elephants by Ernest Hemingway. This story depicts the conversation between a couple as they sit for a train in Spain. While it is not explicitly stated, it is concluded that they are having a discussion on the decision to have an abortion. John Chevier. John Chevier is a short story writer and novelist born in 1912. He is most recognized for his work revolving around fantasy, ironic comedy, and much more. He put out 5 novels as well as 121 short stories. Other works would be A Vision of the World and The Swimmer. Ernest Hemingway. Ernest Hemingway lived from the years 1899 to 1996. However, is still recognized to this day. He was an American novelist and a short story writer that unfortunately took his own life at the age of 61. He is considered one of the most important literary figures of the 20th century. Other works by him include The Sun Also Rises and A Farewell to Arms. The characters in the story Reunion are essentially just 2 main characters, Charlie, which is the son, also known as the narrator, and Charlie's father. Charlie is very happy to see his father, making him a very kind character. He seems to be very open and overall just excited to see his father. While he first sees him, he has thoughts of wishing that he had a way to record their time together at the very beginning of their encounter. Charlie, however, does not have much dialogue in this short story. Essentially, it's mostly his own thoughts that we see and that we read. He doesn't have much physical dialogue, however. Charlie's father. He comes off as a very successful man, and at the start of their encounter, he mentions that he has a club in the 60s. This also contributes to how successful he is. Charlie describes him as smelling of rich whiskey, aftershave lotion, shoe polish, and woolens. He speaks and acts really arrogant towards others that really contribute to what his true personality is. The characters in Hills Like White Elephants. This short story also has 2 main characters as well. We do not know what these characters' names are. The man is referred to the American, and the woman is just a woman. However, throughout the story, there's a line where the man does call her Jig. So we can infer that her name is Jig. The American demonstrates acts of pushing the situation to come to an end. It's essentially saying that he just wants to get this situation over with, whether he is pushing more towards an abortion. This makes his character very inconsiderate and essentially a little selfish. The woman Jig, she's very attentive to nature, which contributes to a kind character. She demonstrates femininity and overall just kindness, which honestly contribute to how a mother should act. She is very unsure about what she wants, and she demonstrates uncertainty and ambivalence. The setting in Reunion. This story is set in New York City, and specifically around the Grand Central Terminal. While they meet at the terminal, Charlie and his father do go around near there to other restaurants. The setting in Hills Like White Elephants. The story is set at a train station located in Spain while the couple sits at a local bar. There is much nature around, as the story mentions landscapes such as the hills, which overall contribute to what is reminding the woman of white elephants. The culture of reunion and the hills like white elephants have some similarities, but overall have their own culture. New York, this story is set around the mid 20th century. His father portrays levels of upper middle class, and with that culture, they do tend to just overall be dressed up, go out, dinners, essentially just going out and contributing to spending and economic contributions. However, alcoholism is a culture that is very much an issue in America. Many Americans do have drinking issues, and this is demonstrated through Charlie's father when he does not clearly know how to control his temper or thoughts and language when he is drunk, intoxicated. Hills like white elephants. The culture here is in Spain. So, Spain is a very rich country and culture. The language, for starters, is a very big part of their culture, which is why also when you read the story, they say when they're ordering drinks at the bar, they try to speak in Spanish, trying to contribute and fit in their culture. The nature aspect of Spain is also a really big thing in the story. Jig mentions how the hills reminds her of white elephants, and the mentions of landscape contribute to the nature. And culture here for tradition would be how many Americans are against, and overall many countries, religious countries, are against abortion. They believe that with Christianity and overall just religion, it is not right, which is a major part in Spain. The religion is a very, very big part of Spain. In Spain, once again, their language, they speak Spanish, so this contributes to when the couple tries to speak Spanish when ordering their drinks. Plots of reunion. A son, Charlie, is happy to reunite with his father for a brief time after his mother divorced him 3 years ago. Charlie is a narrator of this story, and as time passes by on their meet, he realizes his father's erratic and alcoholism are major issues. While trying to stay positive and make excuses for his father, he is left with disappointment, as this is the last time he will see his father. Men have been put out to be strong and not affectionate with one another, so when this meet had happened, no words of affirmation were said, and simply drinks were being drunk. Charlie is left with the tough decision whether to accept his dad for the way he is or essentially never see him again. The plot for Hills Like White Elephants. A couple is having a discussion at a bar near a train station located in Spain. While the reason for the conversation is not explicitly stated, it is clear it is based on an urgent, significant decision. Eventually, you can come to the conclusion that the decision is whether this couple should have an abortion or not. The plot is unfolded through the dialogue and unspoken emotions. The couple is having different thoughts on what should be done as the woman is conflicted, and the American depicts this as a simple procedure. The train arrives, and the hills in the distance symbolizes the uncertain actions to take and uncertain future. My thesis statement is In Reunion by John Cheever, Hills Like White Elephants by Ernest Hemingway, and The Count of Monte Cristo by Alexandre Dumas, and forgive me for butchering this name, Auguste Maquet. It is apparent that masculinity and manipulation play a major factor in decision making. My quote to support my thesis would be In Reunion, no physical affection, but very professional was happening for this meet. This quote from the story, he struck me on the back and shook my hand. This is a quote that demonstrates the masculinity effect on a father and son relationship. A father is not hugging and being very affectionate, but very, very professional. When meeting his son after such long time of not seeing each other, you would expect at least a hug. Another example would be instead of speaking on emotions, his father simply wants to drink. The quote here is that Let's get a drink, Charlie. You don't look well. Once again, masculinity takes over and covering up drinking by not simply stating what you want to say and speaking on your feelings. Third, acts of aggression are demonstrated by the father. Here's a quote, and it states, "I want to get a rise out of this chap." So the masculinity takes over in men by essentially making them want to be the biggest and strongest person and prove that they are very much a man. Overall, all these contribute to masculinity and overall manipulation because the father does not speak to his son and essentially doesn't contribute to any words of affirmation, and he is just acting very masculine. In the next story, Hills Like White Elephants, you hear some quotes to support my thesis on masculinity would be and manipulation is that the American is being very ignorant. Here the quote states, "Well, let's try to have a fine time." This is act of manipulating. He is essentially gaslighting her and saying that they don't have a good time and overall making her watch her next steps and next moves. My next example would be that essentially he tells the girl that the procedure is not hard. The quote here is that it's really an awfully simple operation, Jig. It's not really anything. It's just to let the air in. Here, masculinity is shown on his part because he says that it is easy and anybody can do it. My third example for this would be that Jig is being manipulated into everything will be fine. Here the quote states, "And you think then we'll be all right and happy?" She is being convinced that if she does this procedure and goes along with the abortion, that everything will go back to normal. And he's most likely just saying this just so that he does not have to support this baby. Now, in the Count of Monte Cristo, I did watch the movie on YouTube. So, overall, the movie version of 2002 goes through the story of a sailor who is wrongfully accused of treason and is sent to an inescapable prison. He makes it out and goes back to seek revenge on those who have wronged him. This demonstrates how his masculinity to get back and be seen as strong and powerful affect what decisions he makes. So with this story and this movie, he is done wrong, and it is his duty to himself as a man to go back and essentially get revenge and get back at everyone who wronged him, and this shows acts of masculinity. And then these are my works cited. Thank you very much.